Alabama Governor George Wallace was elected in 1962, employing an ultra-segregationist platform that resonated well in his home state. The following year, due to federal pressure, he was obliged to end his blockage of the University of Alabama and allow enrollment of black students. His resistance echoed favorably to racial bigots, white supremacists, and opponents of the national civil rights movement. In 1964, he entered the U.S. presidential race as a Democratic Party candidate, earning modest success courting backlash voters against integration. In 1968, he ran again under the American Independent Party and was listed on the ballot in all 50 states. He drew 10 million votes nationally. Wallace decided to run a third time during the 1972 election under the Democratic Party, and early results had elevated him into a credible candidate option. He had modified his platform to more moderate positions, appealing to a broader range of voters. On May 15, 1972, Wallace was scheduled to appear at an afternoon public speaking engagement at the Laurel Shopping Center south of Baltimore. The event was staged one day before the Maryland presidential primary vote. The race was wide open at that stage. None of the candidates had yet emerged as a clear frontrunner. Interspersed within the crowd of attendees was a former busboy from the Milwaukee Athletic Club named Arthur Bremer. In January 1972, he had purchased a .38 caliber revolver for $90. He carried the concealed pistol to Wallace's event. His sole motive was to earn recognition and felt President Nixon had too much security for his access. At the Laurel Shopping Center, Wallace began his customary fiery rhetoric against forced busing and the wealthy elite, familiar campaign targets. The crowd numbered an estimated 1,000, and the response was generally congenial, with only minor heckling towards Wallace's remarks. He concluded his talk at approximately 4 p.m. and began shaking hands with attendees nearby against the advice of his Secret Service guard. Bremer forged his way to the front and pulled out his revolver. He aimed at Wallace's abdomen and chest and fired 5 shots, 4 striking Wallace. Wallace fell backwards from his wounds and would become permanently paralyzed. He would abandon his presidential run, but oddly would evolve into a sympathetic national figure. He won the Maryland primary the following day and would speak at the Democratic convention in July that nominated George McGovern for the nomination. McGovern would lose decisively to Richard Nixon. Shooter Arthur Bremer achieved his desired notoriety as a historical footnote. He was released after 35 years of incarceration into obscurity on November 7, 2007.